tutorial I will show you the whole process how to create melodic house track in signature style of Lane 8, starting from building drums, creating warm and melodic synths, and of course creating signature melodic house atmosphere. What's going on, everybody? This is Múrten and welcome to Lane 8 melodic house production tutorial. And just a quick reminder, you can download the template that I've created in this tutorial on my Patreon page. And now, no more words needed, let's go! Okay guys, and before we will start producing our track, I have prepared the channel with the separate sidechain trigger and sidechain compressor on it that we will copy and paste on some elements in the track. Also, we have a free send return channels, the first one with the short verb for the drums, the second one with the long verb for the synths, vocals and other stuff, and the third one with the delay. And now we can start to produce the drop of our melodic house track, and we will start with the kick selection. And here's the kick. Here we will use the kick without this massive high end like in melodic techno. Here we will use the kick with the good body. And right now I will create one simple trick to create the ghost kick. Here I will place one offbeat kick and I will reduce the velocity. This ghost kick sound reminds me of the tom, and I've created this kick to give some groove to the whole drum section. According to my arrangement idea, we will divide our drop into the two parts, and I will trim our kick in the first part of the drop. Now we need to process this kick. I will choose the one-shot mode, I will trim this kick, and I will adjust the fade-out knob. Okay, and now it's time to move to the EQ. And first of all, I will cut off the lower sub-frequencies on the kick. Let's listen to the frequencies that we're cutting off. Also, I wanted to add this click sound to the kick, and I will boost a few dB on the 5000 Hz. Okay guys, we've done all the work with the kick, and now let's move to the drums. Here we will use this clap snare sound. I think in the sample we hear two layered sounds, the clap and the snare. I picked the sample with such humanized and live character just because in melodic house we're trying to achieve this warm and melodic sound from all the elements in the track. Okay, now we need to process the sample. Here we will cut off the lower frequencies around 120 Hz. Okay, we've done all the work with the snare, and now let's move to the open hi-hat. Now we need to create an empty MIDI clip, and we will place our open hi-hat right between the kick and the clap/snare. Now I need to adjust the volume. Now let's mix some short reverb on this open hi-hat. Now we're done with the open hi-hat, and now let's create the shakes layer. Here's the sample. Now we will create the 4 beats empty MIDI clip, and we will create the pattern. Now let's play with the notes. Here I will also use the velocity. Now we need a long note again. And I will reduce the velocity on these two short notes. And now we can simply duplicate these notes in the MIDI clip. Okay, now let's listen all the drums together. Now we will extend this MIDI clip for the whole drop. Now let's work on the panning, and I will send the signal of these shakes to the right. And the final step, let's mix some short reverb. Okay guys, we've done all the work with this shakes layer, and now I wanted to add the second layer of the shakes, but with the loop. Now we need to mix the volume of this loop, and also we need to warp it. In this loop we really hear this huge amount of this unnecessary noise, and now we will remove it. And all we need to do is to go straight into this loop, choose beat swapping mode, then transients, then forward, and then adjust amount of the transients. Now this loop sounds really clear. I hope you remember, guys, that we sent the signal of the first shakes layer to the right, and now we will send the signal of this shakes loop to the left. Perfect, guys, and now we created this cool stereo sounding shakes. Now we've done all the work with the shakes, and now let's move to the top loop. For this melodic house track, I've picked the cool top loop with this Afro percussion sound. Now let's listen all drums together. Now we need to work this top loop. We need to go straight into the sample, choose beat swapping mode, then transients, then forward, and adjust amount of the transients. And now we need to process this top loop with the EQ. This top loop consists of the tones with the really huge low end. So we will cut off the lower frequencies around 100 Hz. And now we will add the last element in the whole drum section. It would be the build-up snare loop. Now let's drag this loop to the project. And of course we need to work this loop. We need to go straight into this loop, choose beat swapping mode, then transients, then forward, and adjust amount of the transients to make this loop sound much clearer. Now I will trim this loop and I will place it right before the drop starts. Now I will create the fade on this sample. Perfect, guys, we're almost done all the work with the drums, and now we need to process the whole group of the drums. And of course we will start with the EQ and we will create the main low frequency cut on 100 Hz. And here is the frequency that we're cutting off. This low frequency sound would conflict with the bass. Now I will boost the higher frequencies above 3000 Hz using the shell filter. And now we will create the main high-end frequency cut above 15,000 Hz. And just listen to these frequencies that were cut off. We don't really need these frequencies in the track, so we will remove it. And the last step, we will compress these drums. We will use the stock Ableton glue compressor, we will adjust the threshold knob, and we will add a few dB on the makeup. And sorry guys, I forgot to add the short reverb on the build-up snare. And now let's listen all drums together. Okay guys, we've done all the work with the drums, and now let's move to the signature melodic house synths. And according to my arrangement idea, we will divide our drop into the two parts. The first part of the drop will be more repetitive and the second part more melodic. And of course we will start with the main lead and I will create the empty MIDI clip. For our main lead, I've picked the signature Lane 8 sound. We will produce our track in C minor key, and now I will play with the notes. And as I said before, in the first part of the drop we will create more repetitive melody. And now let's create the main groove of this melody from the 6 notes. Perfect, and now we can duplicate these notes. And now let's listen this main lead with the drums. And as I said before, in the second part of the drop we will have the more melodic main lead, so we need to change the last 8 beats of this melody loop to create a smoother transition from one part to another. The last notes will go ups and down. Okay, now let's listen to this part that will help us to go from one part of the melody to another. Sounds cool, and now let's select all the notes and press legato. We press this button to consolidate all the notes to make them sound longer. And now it's time to create the second part of the main lead, and as I said before, we'll create the second part more melodic. Now I will play with the notes. And now I can duplicate the first part of the melody. And here we will add a few notes in the end. Perfect, and now we can duplicate all these notes. And now let's listen our melody. And now let's listen our main lead in the whole mix. Process this lead. We will add the audio rack and I will show you before and after the processing. And first of all, we will start with the stock Ableton erosion. We will choose the white noise and we will give this noise sound to the lead. Now I will process this lead with the vinyl distortion. Stereo sound effect to this main lead, and I will use stock Ableton Auto Pen. And now it's time to process this lead with the EQ. And first of all, we'll cut off the lower frequencies. Now I will clean the mid frequencies. Now we will clean the higher frequencies a bit. And now we will create the high-end frequency cut. Yeah, sounds cool, but I think I will change the previous filter on the shell filter. And now let's listen how our main lead sounds. now let's listen this lead in the mix. And as I said before, let's listen our main lead before and after the processing. Now our main lead sounds really bright and clean. And the last part is to apply the sidechain that I have prepared on the separate sidechain trigger, and I will use the ratio around 1:20. And now I will add a long reverb through the send return channel. Okay guys, we've done all the work with the main lead, and now it's time to create our main chords. I hope you remember guys that the first part of the drop is more repetitive and the second one is more melodic, so in the first part of the drop we will create some repetitive chords. We will use this stock Ableton grand piano sample. Now let's create an empty MIDI clip and let's play with the notes. And as you may see guys, we didn't create the bass yet, so we will create the bass notes with our chords. So now we will pick the bass notes. In this part of the drop we will use 2 repetitive notes. Now we can duplicate these notes. These bottom chords notes will be also bass notes in our track. Now we will create the second layer with the same notes, but 1 octave higher. And now it's time to create some harmony, and we will add the third note. Okay guys, we've done all the work with the notes, and now I wanted to create this soft sound on the chords, so I will select all the notes and I will reduce the velocity. Now we achieve this soft sound from the chords. And now let's listen our main lead with the chords. And now it's time to create the second part of the chords in the second part of the drop. Now we will create an empty MIDI clip, and first of all I will create the bass notes. And as I said before, the second part of the track will be the more melodic. Let's listen these notes in the mix. And like on the previous chords, let's create the layer with the same notes but 1 octave higher, and let's create the harmony. Let's use the same trick with the velocity. Let's select all the notes and reduce the velocity to create this soft sounding effect. And now it's time to process these chords with the EQ. And all we need to do is to cut off the lower frequencies on these chords. And now let's listen the whole mix. And the last step on these chords, we need to sidechain it, and I will use the ratio around 1:30. Okay guys, we've done all the work with the chords, and now let's move to the signature melodic house atmosphere, and we will start with the main pad. I will use this serum preset. And for the main pad notes, we will use the same notes like we used on the chords. But the only difference that we will use the same notes, but we will select them and we will put them one octave higher. Now it sounds good. From this main pad, I wanted to hear this melodic and airy sound. Now we will copy and paste the same notes in the second part of the main pad, and as on the previous one, we will put them one octave higher. Now it's time to process this layer, and we will start with the EQ. We will cut all the lower frequencies around 200 Hz. Now I will boost the higher frequencies above 3000 Hz using the shell filter. And now I will create this high-end cut. Now let's listen this pad and the whole mix. Now it's time to use the sidechain on this pad, and I will use the same ratio like on the chords, 1:30. And now let's listen the whole mix with this pad. Okay guys, we've done all the work with the main pad, and now it's time to create atmosphere pad. I will use the serum with this preset, and on this layer we will create the harmony that we will use alongside the whole drop. Now it's time to play with the notes. And now we need to create the harmony. And now we need to add a few more notes. Okay, and now let's listen this pad and the whole mix. And now after mentioning that we will create the main reason why we added this pad. And now I will show you this automation. Let's adjust the cutoff knob. I hope you can understand what we will do right now. I will create the cutoff knob automation in this zone. Because from this pad I wanted to hear this background dynamic sound. Now we will create the points of this automation. And now let's listen this atmosphere pad automation in the whole mix. Sounds amazing, right? Now I can duplicate this automation for the whole drop. And now I will send the signal of this atmosphere pad a little bit to the left. Now we need to process this layer with the EQ, and I will cut off the lower frequencies. Also, I will boost the higher frequencies using the shell filter. And the last step, I will cut off the high end. Now I will apply a sidechain to this atmosphere pad and I will use the ratio around 1:20. Okay guys, we're almost done with the synth section and now I wanted to add the last part, the grain pad. Here I will use the stock Ableton instrument called Velocity Grain. We will use the same harmony that we used on the atmosphere pad, so I will copy and paste the notes. I really love how these two pads working together, the atmosphere pad and the grain pad. But of course this pad needs some processing. But before it, I will use the ARP MIDI effect on this pad. And let's try the pinky up-down. I really love the harmony that creates this ARP effect. And let's listen this pad and the mix. And now we will process this pad and we will start with the EQ. We will cut all the lower frequencies. Also, we will clean the mid frequencies. Now I will boost the higher frequencies a bit using the shell filter. Now I will clean up the higher frequencies a bit. And of course, don't forget about the high-end cut. And now I wanted to create this cool stereo sound effect from these two pads. We send the atmosphere pad signal to the left, and I wanted to send this grain pad signal to the right. And now we created an amazing stereo sounding pads for our melodic house track. And the last part is the sidechain. I will use the ratio around 1:20. And now let's listen the whole mix. Okay guys, we've done all the work with the synths and now let's move to the signature melodic house bass. And from the top bass I wanted to hear this analog worm sound. Like this. And about the bass notes, I hope you remember guys that were created chords before and now we will simply copy and paste the same notes, but for the bass we will use only the bottom notes. And for the second part of the drop we will use the same trick. Now let's listen to this top bass in the mix. Yeah, this bass sound is definitely what we're looking for. But this layer of the bass is only the top bass, so we need to process it with the EQ. And first of all, we need to reduce the lower sub-frequencies. And also, I want to reduce a few dB on the higher frequencies using the shell filter. And the last step on the top bass, we need to apply the sidechain. And only because this is the top bass, we don't need to sidechain it really hard. I think the ratio around 1:85 would be good. And now let's listen this bass in the mix. And now it's time to create the second layer of the bass, the lower bass. I will use the serum with this preset. We will use the same notes like on the top bass, but we will put all these notes one octave lower. Let's change the notes in the first part of the bass. And the same trick in the second part. And now let's listen the whole mix. Now we need to process this bass, and we will start with the EQ. And first of all, I will cut off the sub-frequencies. Then I will reduce a few dB on the main kick frequency to help the kick go through the bass. And the last step, cut all the higher and the mid frequency on the lower bass. Now we need to sidechain this lower bass, but this time we need to sidechain this bass really hard. So here I will use the max ratio. The amount of the sidechain depends on the frequency that the element's playing on. The lower frequencies, more sidechain. The higher frequencies, less sidechain. Okay guys, we've done all the work with the bass, and now let's move to the atmosphere, effects and noises. And the first element in our FX group would be the Vox loop. All the samples that I will use in the FX section will add the atmosphere to the track. Now we need to work the sample. We need to go straight into the sample and choose Complex Pro warping mode and reduce the envelopes. And of course we need to put the sample in right key. Now we need to process this Vox loop with the EQ. We will cut off the lower frequencies. And now I will reduce a few dB on the higher frequencies using the shell filter. And now we will do an amazing trick with the shaper box to give the dynamic to this loop. We need to choose the filter, then length 1 to 8. And now we need to play with the dry wet knob. Sounds much more interesting, and now let's listen to this loop in the mix. And now we need to sidechain this loop, and we will use the ratio around 1 to 20. Okay guys, we've done all the work with this Vox loop, and now I wanted to add an amazing vocal to our melodic house track. And here's the vocal sample that I wanted to add. This vocal gives the really euphoric feelings from this track. Now we need to work this sample. We need to go straight into the sample, choose the Complex Pro warping mode and reduce the envelopes. Now we need to process the sample with the EQ. We need to remove the lower frequencies. Also, I will boost the higher frequencies using the shell filter. And the last step is to add the high end cut. And now let's listen to this processed vocal sample in the mix. Of course, we need to apply the sidechain to the sample, and I will use the ratio around 1 to 20. Okay guys, we've done all the work with the Vox loop and the vocal sample, and now let's add some noises. We'll start with the simple sweep noise. We will add this noise to highlight the transition from one part to another. Don't forget to warp the sample with the complex warping mode. Okay guys, we've done with the sweep noise, and now I wanted to add a tonal down filter. And here's the sample. We need to put the sample in the right key and warp the sample with the complex warping mode. And I think we'll use this tonal down filter in the breakdowns. Okay guys, and now we need to add the long down filter noise. We will use this noise in the drop and the breakdowns. We need to trim this sample and warp it with the complex warping mode. Okay guys, we're almost done with the noises, and the last element in the whole FX section is the basic crash. Okay guys, we've done all the work with the drums, bass, synths, atmosphere and effects, and now it's time to finally move to the full arrangement. And first of all, we'll create the intro for our track. I think our intro will be the 30 seconds. So here I will put up the two markers, the first one when the intro begins and the second one with the intro ends. I will copy and paste the kick and sidechain trigger from the drop to the intro. Also, I will copy and paste the drums from the drop. We will divide our intro into the two parts, and right after the first part of the intro ends, I will cut off the one single kick hit. Also, in the first part of the intro, I will remove the open head. Now I will copy and paste the main lead from the drop to the intro. But in the intro I wanted to hear the repetitive part of the main lead, so I will cut off the first 4 beats and I will set them to the loop. Now I will extend the MIDI clip for the second part of the intro. Also, I want to slowly open up the lead sound, so I will automate the cutoff knob. As you may see guys, in the first part of the intro we will use only the drums, but in the second part of the intro we will use the bass and the synths. Let's listen to this automation. Now I will copy and paste the bass from the drop to the second part of the intro. Also, I want to slowly open up the top bass, so I will use the after filter. I think we'll start opening up the bass from 600 Hz. And we'll create the automation for the whole second part of the intro. Also, I want to move top bass back to the 600 Hz when the breakdown begins. Okay, in the last last part of our intro. We need to copy and paste the sweep noise to highlight the transition from one part of the intro to another. Okay guys, we've done all the work in the intro and now let's move to the breakdown. In the breakdown, I wanted to hear the melodic part of the main lead. Also, in the second part of the breakdown, I will add the piano chords. And also the main pad. Also, we will copy and paste the bass to the breakdown. And we have a small space when the build-up snare stops playing, and right before the first drop starts, I will remove the bass here. And I think I will remove the vocal sample from the first drop and I will put the sample into the first breakdown. Now we need to fill the breakdown with the noises. Let's listen all these noises together. Okay, now it's time to create some automations on the elements in the breakdown. First of all, I will add the after filter to the main lead. I think we will open up the main lead same as top bass from 600 Hz. I will start creating this automation from the second part of the intro. Created all the automations on the main lead in the intro and the breakdown, and now it's time to open up the lead on the full right before the first drop starts playing. And now I want to create an automation on the cutoff knob on the main pad. We need to slowly open up the main pad from the breakdown to the drop. And don't forget about the top bass, we will slowly open it up from the breakdown to the drop. And now I want to create a cool automation on the whole bass section. We will use the after filter and we will automate the cutting of the lower frequencies right from the breakdown to the drop. This automation will help us to create the cool drop entrance. Okay guys, we've done all the work on the first breakdown, we created the first drop a few minutes ago and now we will create the second breakdown. And first of all, I will set up the marker. Now I will copy and paste the main lead from the intro to the second breakdown. Now we need to adjust all automations on the main lead. Now I will add the bass to the second breakdown, but I will use the bass only on the one note. I will go straight into the MIDI clip and I will leave only one C note. Also, I need to adjust the automation on the bass. Now I will copy and paste the main pad to the second breakdown, but I need to adjust the notes of the main pad to the bass notes. And from the main pad, I need to use the notes that will match the note of the bass. Now I will extend these notes for the whole MIDI clip. Also, I need to adjust the automation on the main pad. Okay guys, and now according to my arrangement idea, I want to use the kick in the breakdown. So I will copy and paste the kick from the drop. Also, I will copy and paste the sidechain MIDI clip. But only for the second breakdown, I want to create the automation on the EQ for the kick. I want to create the sound on the kick that will remind us the heartbeat. So I will use the stock Ableton EQ and I will use two filters. The first one will cut off the lower frequencies. And the second filter will cut off the higher frequencies and the mid frequencies. Perfect, and now the kick sounds really reminds us the heartbeat. Now we need to automate this EQ only in the second breakdown. So the kick with this kind of the EQ will play only in the second breakdown. Okay, now we need to fill the second breakdown with the elements and we will start with the main lead. I will copy the notes from the first part of the drop. Also, we need to adjust the automations. In the second breakdown, I wanted to hear the kick, drums, synths and the bass, but with the soft sound. Okay, now we will copy and paste the bass from the first half of the drop. Also, don't forget to adjust the automations. Now I will copy and paste the piano chords. Also, don't forget about the main pad. Now we need to fill the second breakdown with the atmosphere and noises. Also, as I said before, I don't want to use the vocal sample right in the first drop, I want to fully open it up in the second one. So we will use this vocal sample in the first breakdown, in the second breakdown and in the second drop. And I really love the euphoric sound of the second breakdown. As I said before, now we will fill up the second breakdown with the noises. Okay guys, and now it's time to create the second build-up. We will copy and paste the build-up snare from the first build-up. I will extend the main lead for the second build-up. Also, don't forget to adjust all automations. Now we will fill the second build-up with the main piano chords and the pad. In the second build-up, we will use the same bass that we used in the first build-up. And we will apply the same automations on the bass. And I think in the second build-up, I want to open up the grain pad. Now I want to use the after filter on the grain pad and slowly opening up in the second build up and in the first drop. We will use the same automation on the grain pad, but in the first drop. And now let's listen our second build-up. Okay guys, we've done all the work in the second breakdown and now let's move to the second drop. And first of all, I will set up the marker. I think we will use the same structure like in the first drop, but I will add the third part to the second drop. It would be the 15 seconds where we will create the automation on the all elements in the track to prepare the listener to go from the drop to the outro. And now we need to fill the second drop with the synths, and we will start with the main lead. Also, we will copy and paste the main piano chords. Don't forget about the main pad. Also, don't forget about the atmosphere pads. The second drop with the bass. Now we need to copy and paste the low bass. And of course the last part is the noises. As I said before, we will use the vocal sample also in the second drop. Okay, and now we need to check the second drop entrance. And finally, here is the 15-second zone where we will create the automation on all elements in the track to prepare the listener to go from the drop to the outro. In the zone, I will remove the kick. As you may see, we will use the same automations like in the intro, but we will simply reverse them. We started with the auto filter and now we need to automate the cutoff. Now we will automate the main pad cutoff. Also, we will slowly close up the grain pad with the after filter. And the last automation that we will create is the reversed intro automation on the top bass. And now let's listen these 15 seconds with all the automations that were created. Okay guys, we're almost done all the work with the track, and now let's create the outro. So, as I said before, the most of the time the outro is the reversed intro, so we will create the 30 seconds outro here. I will copy and paste the kick, I will extend this kick for the 30 seconds, and also I will copy and paste the sidechain trigger. Also, I will set up the markers and will fill the outro with the drums. I think in the outro I will not use the open hi-hat. Okay guys, and now let's have a final listen of the transition from the drop to the outro. Okay guys, we're finally done all the work with the track. We created an amazing drums, bass, synths, FXs, noises, and finished all the work with the arrangement, and now let's have a listen to the final result. And that's how we produce melodic house track and signature style of Lane 8. Yep, that's it guys, thank you so much for watching this tutorial, I really hope it was useful, and first of all, I just want to say big thank you for 5,000 subscribers on my channel, it really means a lot for me, and all this content, videos, production tutorials and templates, all for you guys. Thank you. See you in the next videos.